money or you don't have to pay it back. But it must be used wisely and for the intent indicated in your application. So moving to who can apply eligibility. Go ahead, Janice. Ooh. All right. In terms of who can benefit, the program is really geared towards small and medium enterprises. However, at this juncture, we are not excluding any enterprises who fall within this category. You must be registered by the licensed by the Jamaica Tourist Board or registered with the Ministry of Tourism. That's the first criteria. And you must fall into one of the following subsectors: an apartment, attractions, bike rentals, car rentals, guest houses, homestays, hotels, tour operators, water sports operators, inbound merchants, which have been granted an approval letter by the Jamaica Tourist Board, travel agencies, villas, and any other entity approved by the Ministry of Tourism under the Fiscal Incentives Act. So those are the categories of companies who would be available to be eligible to apply for the grant. That's the first thing. You may say that there are many other entities in tourism. There are lots of linkage sectors. There have been programs that have been targeted to other linkage sectors, but this one is specifically for those entities as listed and licensed by the Jamaica Tourist Board or by the Ministry of Tourism. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, eligibility criteria. It is a grant program, and in order to assess your potential to receive the grant, unfortunately, you're going to need a couple of things. And I don't want anybody to be intimidated by the level of the number of things, but understand it is GOJ money, it is taxpayers' money, and we want to make sure that we're being efficient in processing who actually gets this grant. So let's go through the criteria. One, you have to fill out the application form. That's the easy one. And then we just need a copy of certain pieces of registration to ensure that you actually are registered. So that's a copy of the JTB license, TPDCO registration, or Ministry of Tourism registration. A copy of TPDCO's product quality assessment letter. As you know, the TPDCO has been going through systematically through these entities to determine and assess COVID preparedness. Many of you have already been assessed and have been granted permission to proceed. So those who have should submit, and even if you have submitted and not received a response, we want to see a copy of the submission such that we can be sure that you have applied. Remember, the purpose of this grant is to make sure you are COVID ready. Beyond that, a copy of your valid TCC, you have to be a tax compliant, completed a credit consent form, which is where we just check out your credit worthiness. Why? We just want to make sure that you are a responsible entity and don't and have a positive credit rating. Moving up, we do want audited financial statements for 2 years, and I know that maybe seem a little intimidating, but as I said, we need to assess your ability to execute the project that you're applying for. And your accounts tell us, do not be afraid in the context. We know that several entities, particularly in the last few months, their revenues have dried up. We're expecting that. And it does not have to be perfect, but we just want to see that you are a going concern, that you're actually continuing to operate, have operated for some time, and will be able to operate post-COVID. If you don't have that, your management accounts, well, you should have that, but in addition, we would like to see your management accounts from January to June. Where an application is being requested, we want to be sure, we want proof of your ability to partially fund this project. So to the extent that you can fund the project that you're putting in front of us. So let's talk practical now. Let us say you are a restaurant operating on the Mobay Hip Strip. Oh, no, let me not use that one. Let's say you are a guest house. I'm being specific to the categories that are listed. Let's say you are a guest house and you have to expand a certain area in order to facilitate social distancing. That may cost a certain amount. Let us say, just for argument's sake, it's going to cost you $3 million. We want you to indicate the amount that you are willing to prepare to fund the project by and the proof of it. So that may be a bank statement saying you have it, or if you have a pre-approval letter from your bank saying that they lend you the money, this portion of the money, all of that would be useful in assessing. Go ahead. Move down a little, Janice. Let me see. All right, so that's all the eligibility criteria. Once you've gathered these documents, the next step for you to do is to actually make the application. The application is made through our website, eximbankja.com. It's pretty simple. Click on the link that says click here. I'm sure many of you went to that very same page in order to come to this Zoom presentation, and you will see the application. We're asking that you take your time and fill it out. It may seem like a number of pages, but it is pretty simple, and we've tried to make it as simple and straightforward as possible. Remember, our objective is actually to help you, and therefore we want to make sure that it is not intimidating or onerous in the way we get the information that is needed. Once applications are received, and remember, we're doing what is called a call for proposals mechanism, in which all the applications will be received, we will assess them against some criteria, and then we'll make an award. Why we're doing it that way is to ensure that we know exactly how many people have applied and be able to determine how much can be fulfilled by the finite sum of money we have been given. So we've gotten a couple of applications already, and I know a lot of people are in preparation mode, but I'm encouraging you, please make sure you try and get that application in before September 30th, because once the door closes, we'll be sitting behind closed doors to, as quickly as we can, assess all the applications and determine the awards. Where you do not have the required information, it's going to be very difficult for us to assess. So the earlier you submit, if it is something that we've seen that is definitely not there, we'll try and contact you, but certainly we want to be in a position to look at only completed applications by September 30th. Okay? So that takes us to the application. But just before I pass over to Janice, there are a couple of things that I want to just let you know what we're going to be looking at in terms of awarding making the awards after September 30th. As I said, once all applications are received, our internal team within Exim Bank are going to take those applications. First we're going to check that everything that we asked for is there. Because if you don't have everything, then we can't assess the award. Once you've passed that step in the process, then we're going to look very critically. Have you told us what you want to achieve? Have you given us the supporting documents relating to what you want to do? Have you indicated how you will finance some of it or a part of it, or what portion of it, and have you supported that with information? We have indicated that in the case where you have already done some of the improvements in order to be COVID ready, whether you've executed training for your staff or that you've put in your sanitization equipment or bought a certain pieces of working capital that are going to be required for your operation. Once they have been spent after, Janice confirmed to me, April 1? Is this April 1?
That's
Janice?
correct. April 1st, 2020.
Once those expenditures took place after April 1 and you have the invoices, we will reimburse. But you have to provide us with proof of those invoices indicated that they have been paid such that we can reimburse to you. Other than that, a couple of things you need to bear in mind. We will only allow 30% of the award to go to working capital. Working capital is the day-to-day expenses that a business may need. The other 70% must be related to hard kind of expenses, capital equipment, things that are required in order to meet your COVID readiness. Another thing we're going to be looking critically at, making sure that you are tax compliant. And once that is done, the internal committee will make the award against the number of applicants that have submitted clear and concise applications. Another question that has been asked, what's the maximum of the award? We can't tell you what the maximum will be because it's going to be dependent on how many applications are received. Fewer applications, I guess the awards will be bigger. If there are more applications, they will be small. We will really want to make sure as many entities. We know that there are several entities operating in this space, and we want to make sure as much as is possible that we can provide support and help and relief to you all. In terms of payment, once the application award has been assessed and approved, you will hear from us indicating, let me step back a second. You will hear from us 2 times once the application is received. Once, when you submit the application, you're going to get a letter that says, thanks for applying. We will assess your application and you will hear from us sometime in early October. You will hear from us again sometime, I would believe, in the first or second week in October, which says either congratulations, you've been awarded XYZ, please sign indicating your acceptance of the award, or you will say, unfortunately, for whatever reason, you have not been fortunate to get an award under this program. The disbursement of grants will be done through the auditor, the Accountant General's office. We will indicate to the Accountant General the various entities that have been successful, and based on the information you have provided in your application, the Accountant General will make the awards via bank transfers to the account listed on the application. Very, very, very important. Ensure that you make sure that the information in your application regarding bank account is correct and has been vetted. We do not want a case, because the award is going to be made directly to the applicant. It is important that we have the correct information. All right, I think I've said a mouthful. I'm going to if you'll allow, let Janice go through the application, and then we can start taking some questions. Janice?
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bell. All right, so I'm going to walk you through how to get to the application. I'm going to reiterate some of the points that Mrs. Bell made, and then go through the application form with you. All right, so when you get to the website, which is www.eximbankja.com, you will see a banner.
Can you get me
beginning? You press click here. If you do not see that banner, you may access the page from other products, and you'll see the COVID-19 Tourism Care Grant there. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. Once you do that, the information then comes up with everything that Mrs. Bell just mentioned. Highlighted are points that you need to pay keen focus on. So she mentioned the benefits of the grant and what it can be used for, who is eligible. There are some changes, however. On the brochure, you saw that you needed a TPD co-registration. In fact, you only need to provide a copy of the JTB license shown here, or the Ministry of Tourism registration. So that's a correction there. Additionally, your audited financials and management account, is for financial years 2018 and 2019, not June to current, as you see here. So just review, please, the website to see the details that are and the requests that are needed. Okay, whilst you scroll down, again, in bold, in blue, there are some requirements. It says here that you should click the apply now. Applications must not be completed in the web browser. You need to download the application form. Let me run through this now. Once you click the apply button, you will see the form here. I know you'll be tempted to start typing and writing into the form. However, this is not a responsive form. It should not be completed like this. Dependent on your browser, you will need to download the form by clicking the download button up here. If everyone is seeing my pointer, and your form will be downloaded. Go to your files to access the form. I already have it open, so I'm gonna share my screen with the form open now. One sec. A little technical difficulty, one sec. Christy, can you please enable me? All right, back to the form now. All right, 1 second.
Janice, if you can't get it, just go through the one on the without it.
I will have to do that. All right, let me do that. Okay, so going back through the one online. Okay, so application details, your business name, your business email address, just the regular information about your business. Where you see TPD regulating sector, at the bottom of the page, you'll see a highlight. This is the information that we're requesting from you. So if you're an apartment, a bike rental, car rental, guest house, etc., that's the information that we're requesting there. All right, moving along. Question number 2 asks information about the owners, the shareholders, directors, etc. It is to be noted that the persons who are signing this form must also be mentioned in this section. So your owner, your shareholder, your directors, your CFOs, etc. The list of eligible persons are listed there. You only need to put in the information here. If the person is not Jamaican, please state their nationality.
I think it's important to notice, Janice, it's not that we're saying that everybody needs to sign the form. We're saying that whoever signs the form should be listed there. Everybody understand that? Because I know many companies do not have shareholders that may be physically away. We're just saying that whoever signs the form must be a director or a shareholder or a part of the management of the firm.
Correct. All right. Number 3, straightforward. Number of employees as at July 31st. Verified number of employees per SO2 filed at December 2019. And if you're operating, then this information you will already have. We will need a copy of that form as well, as noted in the fine prints. Description of the business operation. We're not necessarily asking for an epistle, but we're not asking for a one-liner either. As best as you can, describe the business's operation. What do you do? In a little bit more information on how you operate, etc. So we can get a better understanding of your business. Question number 6, has your business been adversely impacted by COVID-19 pandemic? I'm sure the answer is yes, hence why the application for the grant. But we do need you to state how it has impacted your business. Number 7, list the main areas of the company's COVID-19 recovery plan. What is a recovery plan? really is questioning what plans you have in place to continue surviving. So do you plan to lay off, for example, God forbid? If you plan to expand, if you plan to become which you do need. Mrs. Bell, did you mention the TPD co-assessment, by the way?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay. Right. So the plan must include details from your TPD course assessment. So how have you become COVID ready, or your plan to become COVID ready to operate your business, basically? I don't know if MD have any more highlights for this question here. Do you?
No. As I said, just be as fulsome with your responses as you can. Indicated what are the kinds of things you want to accomplish in terms of being ready to get open, or if you're open and there's still some things you haven't done that have been listed in the assessment that need to be completed, then certainly indicate what those things are and what the costs associated would be.
Right, absolutely. Okay. All right, so I was able to open the correct form. I'm just gonna switch the screen quickly. 1 second, please. All right, and as you can see here, there are some boxes that are highlighted in red. Those information must be completed, or your form is not responsive. It cannot be submitted. Question number 8, summary of financial position of the business. We will need you to attach separately your financial statements or your management account. So very clear, your total revenues for the year 2019, same for 2018, and year-to-date information. Some of the questions that we have been getting is in regards to your year-to-date. So some year-to-date begins at April, and you may not have your audited financials because of the same. Your management accounts would suffice. Am I correct, MD?
Yes, yes.
Right. But I know you would have your 2018, 2019 financial statement. So that information you can provide. For year to date, April to now for some, others January to now, just provide the information that you do have and your management accounts to reflect the same. The areas that are in red, again, are needed. Same with the section below. For the sections operating profit and net profit, that will be calculated automatically. So you don't need to put any numbers there. Question number 9, summary of intended use of the COVID-19 tourism funds. I must direct you, if not already, to TPDCO's site. They have a brochure within the protocols and the requirements to become COVID ready. Your plan must include this, if not already assessed. And it must, the summary basically must have some details of what is requested from the TPDCO brochure. So when you're finished, if you have not gone through that, I recommend that you do. So provide brief details of the purpose of the grant below. And again, on the website, the purpose of the grant was listed, or purposes, sorry. Question 10, amount being applied for. As seen here, your total project cost, grant amount, difference, investment in business, investment in plant or building, for example, expansion. If you need, for the hotels, for example, if you need an additional room for isolation, or you need to expand the lobby area to facilitate social distancing, etc. Investment in equipment, investment in raw materials, staff training, if you need to train your staff on COVID-19 protocols, etc. Staff salary, operational costs. Please note below the fine print, a maximum of 30% of the sum requested can be used for working capital support. Working capital support or operational costs includes staff salaries and other similar recurrent expenditure, your rent, your utilities, etc. Also note, and Mrs. Bell had mentioned it again, but let me just mention it again. Only invoices dated April 1st, 2020 and onwards will be considered for the reimbursement. Nothing before that date, because again, we are trying to put you back in a place to operate or survive during the COVID shutdown period, which was April 1st to now. Please note again 11A and 11B, proof is needed. And the proof here is a letter from a financial institution indicating approved loan and or bank statement showing funds on the business's bank account, for example. So the proof of your 10% cash match, for example, should be reflected in one of these forms. Beneficiary details is really your details, your beneficiary, the beneficiary name, your TRN, your banking information, your branch code. Amount to be paid is the same as the grant requested. Account type, beneficiary account number, etc. Number 13, details of benefits received on the COVID-19 care program. If you have received whether the best cash or any other grants under the program, please indicate this. Funds received on the best cash component, indicate here. Number of employees for which best cash benefits received, you indicate there. Funds received, small business grant component, funds received under the general grant component, number of former employees benefiting from set cash component. So it's very clear. And your declaration, read through it. I don't think I need to, but just read through it and tick the boxes as you go.
I think I just would want to say this to everyone. This declaration is really something that you need to think about carefully. It really is just making sure that it is really just saying that I'm going to use the funds that I receive for the purposes that I outlined, and everything that I've filled in this form is true and correct. And lastly, that I'm consenting that if an audit needs to be done, that an audit can be done to ensure that the funds were used as indicated. It is a requirement, so please make sure you complete this section and put your authorized signature on the application. If it can be an e-signature, however, we need to make sure, or it can be downloaded, print, signed, and then uploaded again. But the important thing is to make sure that all the attachments, the relevant attachments, have been also scanned and uploaded. We're trying to make the process as contactless as possible, meaning that to protect your own safety and our safety. So as much as you can, and actually I should say all applications should be scanned and uploaded and sent back to us via our email address. Questions?
Before we go to the questions, here, this is a part that a lot of people seem to be having issues with. Once you click on this authorized signature box, it's not happening now, whether you're seeing it, then it requests from you a digital signature. I'm not going to go through this now because it will apply my signature, but choose the digital signature that you want. If you have a touch screen or a tablet, it would be best to do it on a tablet so you can actually sign yourself. If not, then you go through the process here. Adobe will walk you through the process. You put in your signature. Once that is done, there's also another form underneath, the consent form, for the same purposes that Mrs. Bell just mentioned. Once you click the signature boxes, there's a pop-up window that will guide you through the signing process. After you've completed all of this and all the red areas are completed, you will press the submit button. If you notice here, at least one required field was empty. Please fill in the required fields highlighted before continuing. Once you have filled in all and click the submit button, your email hoster or your email will open automatically with the email address automatically included, which is info@eximbankja.com. You need to upload all the other supporting documents. Go through the website again. Your copy of your TCC, copy of your financial statements, etc. All of those documents need to be uploaded in that one email and then sent to us. All right? I see a lot of questions in the chat room, so I'm gonna go through them one by one.
All right, let's start at the top, Janice.
All right. The top one from Daryl. Will the grant be allowed to be used to cover staff wages and support for third or fourth quarter of 2020?
All right, the truth is that we're really only going to be allowing 30% of the award for working capital. So even if you put in those expenses, it will only be limited to 30% of it, because many of the staff wages, there were other programs were targeting individuals to get grants under either the Set Cash or Best Cash program. So it will only be up to 30% of working capital.
All right. Samantha, good afternoon. Representing an inbound jewelry store in Falmouth. The company has TCC and duty-free license. However, the company has not been direct to JTB for registration. Would the company be eligible for this grant?
No, the company is going to have to be registered. You have to be registered with either the Minister of Tourism or Ministry of Tourism or Jamaica Tourist Board in order to get registered, in order to be eligible for the grant. If you can get that done and the process completed before September 30th, then you are eligible.
All right. Question from Scarlett. Are we totally excluded if audited financials are not yet available for 2019-2018?
I would say go ahead and submit, but we really do want you to have audited financials, particularly for 2018. In many cases, we can kind of understand 2019, but as a responsible operating entity, you really should have had your 2018 financials submitted. But for the purposes, I would say go ahead and submit, and then we'll make a judgment call based on when we receive them. If where you have not, then it's going to be very, very important, and we'll discuss this after, Janice, whether we can accept bank statements.
Okay. All right. Question from Smith. Can property insurance be included? I'm assuming you're speaking of working capital. Can property insurance be included?
Again, property insurance is working capital, so only to extent of 30% of the award will be awarded to working capital.
Jennifer Herlock asks, can refunds to customers be included?
All right, that one is a little tricky. It's not something we contemplated, but I can understand it has been an expense to the entity over the last few months. Can I ask that we will get back to you on that one, Jennifer? Just reach out to us and then I will give you our specific response in that regard. I will share we can share the response in our frequently asked questions.
All right, Scarlett also asked again, will you accept applications for working capital only?
Well, I think we kind of answered that one already. Only up to 30% of the amount awarded can be used towards working capital.
All right, can the budget from Paula again? Can the budget submission be a mix of reimbursements as well as COVID response initiatives slated for November 2020 to 2021?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. But as I said, the focus, we will pay reimbursements for expenses that have been incurred after April 1. It may mean that you had only a certain amount of capital to implement a part of the program. We will certainly look at expenses that are planned for the future. But the important thing is that we are going to be prioritizing entities who need to actually open. If you are technically not going to be open till November 21, because whatever you have created or what your project will include takes you into November 21, it means that you will not be able to be open until then. If that is not the case and you're going to be able to partially open, you'd have to please indicate that in your project. and in your application. If you're doing it on a phased basis, however, some is not precluding you from opening your facility, then please indicate that in that project description. We want to know as much about the project in order to properly assess that the finances, the expenses that you're putting forward are in fact reasonable.
All right. Shirley asked, in the case that we don't have some documents listed on the eligibility criteria, is it not possible to apply?
You're going to have to be more specific, because we want everything that we've indicated on this form to be completed. So I'm trying to understand what kind of information you may not have, to see if there can be any leeway given. So please give me, who asked the question, Daryl?
Shirley.
Sure, if you can be a little bit more specific, I would be able to.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you for your time. My question is, in the case that I don't have any document, the TDC fee, or maybe the bank statement, other document. If I have pending one document, is possible that I can apply?
No, you're going to have all of the information.
Complete.
I mean, you definitely need to have your TCC, the registration information. You're going to have the proof of your expenses if you want a reimbursement.
Okay.
So as much as is possible, the application needs to be complete.
Okay.
And of course, in order to be efficient, we don't want to be going back and forth. We really want to do one close the application period, make our awards, and get the funds to the successful applicants as quickly as possible.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I believe this question was answered. Please confirm whether it can be audited accounts or internal statements for both years. I think Mrs. Bell had responded that you should have your 2018-2019 audited financials, but for year to date, we would take the management accounts, correct?
Yes. Sorry,
Okay.
I think we missed one, Janice, in terms of your TCC. There's no expiration date on my TCC. It may not be on the form, but if you go to the website, the tax compliance website, they'll be easily tell you when yours actually expires. But you really should know, but they will tell you, the TAJ website will tell you when it expires. It's important that you put that in, because we want only compliant tax holders in order to be eligible. And if you send us, we're going to have to check anyway. So the truth is that it's easier for you just to fill it in, which speeds up the process.
All right. Shirley, again, if we apply until September 30th, how many days will you take to give us an answer?
Oh, if it was up to me, it would be September 2. But it really, because of the mechanisms that we're going to be using, we're going to try and get it done. And I'm going to hold my team to about a week, so that hopefully by the second, latest the third week in October, we'll be able to be making the advisories.
All right. Dion asked, are 2 signatures required for the consent form at the end for a business or company? Yes. The answer is yes.
So that would be like you are the principal in the business and one of your directors. I mean, I think for company registration purposes, you need to have at least one director or the company secretary. So therefore, you need to have both. It just indicates to her that the company, in its capacity as a registered entity, has agreed to this application.
All right. Antoinette, the required documents will be large files. Will the email permit the attachment, or is this uploaded instead? Well, if there are large files, there's so many options. You can transfer the documents to the same email address, which is info@eximbankja.com. By going to wetransfer.com, you can create a Dropbox or a link to the files, and we can access it that way. But there shouldn't be a problem, because we are able to accept large formatted files. If you have an issue, just call me, and I should be able to assist you through it. All right, V. Lee, what do I need to submit for payroll support? MD? Hello? Seem to have lost or... Okay, she will reconnect soon. What do I need to submit for payroll support? Proof of payment, one, I'm sure. One second, let me just try and reconnect her. All right.
Go ahead. I'm back in. Go ahead.
Okay. What do I need to submit for payroll support?
Just proof of that you've made the payments, a listing, and indicating where it was, whatever proof you would normally submit in the context of ensuring that the deductions were made from your respective company's account.
All right. Charlotte, what about gift shops that are supported 100% by tourism, but they're not in bond stores? Are they excluded?
Once, based on the eligibility criteria, once you receive the license from the Ministry of Tourism, then you will be eligible. If you do not have that license, unfortunately, you will not be included in this particular grant program.
All right. Vernell, can you please repeat the two corrections you mentioned under the requirements? The two corrections, as is indicated on the website, you will only need JTB or Ministry of Tourism registrations or license. You do not need a TPDCO. Let me not say do not. A TPDCO registration is not required, correct? All right, Michael, will you be considering invoices from the date of April 1st until the day the entity opened, or from April 1st to a specific preset date?
I think it would be April 1st until the date of submission of your application. In other words, if you can prove that, in other words, you may be in the process of implementing COVID-related measures, as long as you can, it is from April 1st to the day you submit, then they can be considered. What we're trying to do in that respect is just to try to reimburse people for things that have happened since they've closed down. In other words, many companies have already gone and gotten their assessments and implemented what they needed in order to be COVID ready. In fact, many entities in this grouping, villas, are already open, and therefore we're just seeking to reimburse them in the case where it has already been done. So if you're in the process of doing it now, if you can submit the invoice even up to the date of your application, and we'll definitely accept it.
All right, Swen asks, good afternoon. What if we haven't been assessed by the TPDCO for reopening?
Well, you need to go and get assessed quickly. And my understanding from TPDCO, which is our partner in this initiative, is that they're accepting applications as we speak and doing assessment as we speak. If you can send us the information via email, and we'll refer you to the specific, or Janice, has TPDCO told us exactly who the referral point is?
Yes, I have that information. I can send that out to everyone after this meeting.
All right. So what I would say to you, because I had that question yesterday, a villa owner who has recently purchased and has been stalled in his opening because of COVID readiness, has not been registered. Go get the contact details from Janice and go to TPDCO and get your entity registered so that they can have you assessed. And based on the assessment, you will provide the invoices to support what you will need to do, and that can be submitted in your application. And my understanding, it's not a very detailed process. The quicker you get it in, is the quicker they can allocate a representative to come and do the assessment.
All right, and I've also dropped in the chat the contact details, and I seem to have lost where I was in the questions as well.
But it is Lorna Newsome Finney-Kena. It's on your screen from TPDCO, and the address and phone number. So if you have your phones, just do a click or a screenshot.
Right. All right. Next question is from Smith. If the TCC expires September the 30th, which is the closing, will that be accepted?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Yes, it will. We're going to assume that you're going to go ahead and get it renewed. But if it's submitted on September 30th and the expiration date is the September 30th, yes.
All right. Another question. Can my Amazon invoices be included as PPE purchase through them?
Probably not your Amazon purchase, but I would assume you did it by credit card. So if your credit card statement is probably a better. But
they would also
evidence.
need the invoice from that. If most of their purchases are from PPE from Amazon, then they would probably need the invoice and the proof that they paid for that. Correct?
Agreed. But if the Amazon one alone would not be sufficient. You have to show us payment via some financial device. There's credit card, from a bank account, however you paid it.
Okay. Our next question, Charlotte. Do we have to list the number of...
Jenny, scroll me up in the chat, please.
Where are we going? Up?
I'm still seeing the information with TPDCO.
Oh, you probably need to scroll from your side.
All right, go ahead. All right, go ahead.
Do we have to list the number of staff who were on set cash, but we now have them back on payroll?
I think you should list the ones that it's just a number that receives set cash. So if not all receive set cash, then fine. If some did, put the number who received set cash. What they're trying to do is to cross-reference between this and that grant program, and to keep a track of the relationships between individuals and entities. So just indicate the amount of employees that received, and if you know how much, put it in the application.
All right, Rebecca, I note your concern. She asks, is this being recorded and will be available? Yes, I will be putting up this recording on the website on the same page. Apparently there was a maxed out number, only 100 persons can attend this meeting. Apologies to everyone, but we will be sharing the information on the website. Clement asks, yes, same question if it's being recorded. Daryl asks, the application asked for an expiration date on TCC, but okay, that was also answered. Can you guide us as to how far in the future this grant will cover for the expenses?
I don't think it's dependent on when, but the assumption is that we're covering expenses that will get you to full operations as soon as possible. So certainly we're going to be practical about it. We want the entity to be able to open fully and be ready to open fully. And therefore, if you're submitting an expense that takes us through next year and you'll remain close to next year, then it will not get the same level of priority if we're having a case where applications are for people who need to be ready now. I would, in commonsensically, put in those expenses that allow you to become operational, even if it's not fully operational, but those that will allow you to meet the criteria that TPDCA has assessed for COVID readiness.
All right.
And they have indicated that in their assessment.
All right. Sarah asked for confirmation on the application deadline. It's the 30th. We close on the 30th of September. Edna asks, is cash flow required? If so, what period should this be for?
In terms of just the financial information as indicated there, we're asking for assets. Let me go back up to the P&L. Janice, take me back up to the P&L. So it's not really asking for cash flow. It's asking for the amount being applied for and how you detail it. What are the expenses that you're expecting to spend in relation to the project you're applying for? That's under number 10. And in terms of the P&L, it is just for 18, 19, and year to date. If you are able to, do it up to August. If you can't, then do it up to the period that you can, but we're going to want as close to the current period as possible. Certainly not September, but if you can get your in-house up to August, it would be great. So it's not asking you for a cash flow. It's just asking you for your P&L information and your balance sheet information.
Javier, sorry.
And the details relating to your expenses, projected expenses.
All right, Javier asks, we have TPDCO certificate inspection on October 15th. Can we apply?
On October 15th?
Correct.
And that's the earliest date they've given you. Can you turn on your mic for me?
Javier?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Javier. Is
Hello,
it that they've given you a date of October 15th to do the assessment?
Yes, also because some items we import from USA, so we are waiting for them. So until we don't receive that item, we cannot have the certificate inspection for TPDCO.
But they have indicated what you need to in order to be assessed?
Yes.
Okay, so they have done the assessment, but they have not signed off on it because you haven't done everything. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, also we have a lot of emails about that one, so.
All right, we're gonna have to deal with you one-on-one, but I think if you've got an assessment which indicates what you need in order to become COVID ready, and those things are the subject of your application, then you should be okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right, Antoinette, I think this was answered as well. My TCC expires September 30th. Will you accept TCC anyway? The answer was yes. Andrew asks, can medical insurance be added in staff's salary?
Ooh. Well, as again, medical insurance, if the portion to which you pay, the employer pays, then it's a staff expense. Only 30% of working capital, yes.
Tamiko, I already have the certificate, clearance certificate. Do I still require the TPDCO letter?
Meaning that you've received the clearance certificate from TPDCO that you are COVID ready. If that is what you're indicating, then it means that you are requesting reimbursement for the costs that you've already expended. So you'd be, once you're able to put those invoices together that indicate what you have spent, then you are eligible for reimbursement based on the other criteria being met.
Okay.
All right, Tamiko. Lindsay, we are in a small space at the moment, so we would like to upgrade to a bigger space so we can social distance and also to have vehicles in one area so we can better monitor the sanitization process. Are we eligible to apply?
Sorry, what is your business?
Lindsay?
It's a tour company.
You're a tour company, so it's the vehicles that you're trying to expand the space for?
Yes, it is. And the staff.
Are you registered?
Yes, we are.
I think it would be, it sounds like that's a costly operation, but I would say go ahead and apply because you're actually asking to expand your physical location, meaning where your staff are being occupied as well as where the vehicles are being sanitized.
Yes.
Yes, I think you can go ahead and apply, but it's certainly for procurement of property. I'm not sure that we would be able to, I don't know if the grant will go that far, but I would say go ahead and apply.
Okay then. Okay, thanks, Mama.
All right, Darrell, I am not physically in Jamaica. How can I obtain acceptable document certification?
Meaning that you have I'm sorry, what's his name? I didn't see it.
Darrell.
Darrell, it means that is it that you have a villa?
Darrell, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Hi.
Hi, Darrell. Is it a villa that you have?
Yes. And at the bottom of the application, it asks for certification from either a lawyer or justice of the peace.
I guess, where are you physically located? If it's in the United States, I guess it could be a notary public.
Oh, okay. That's the question. Would that be acceptable? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Go ahead, Janice.
Nick, Nick Lynch, we've already completed a summary of financial position. Note that the operating profit and net profit lines are not auto-calculated and cannot be filled in. We've added the correct amounts on the form via annotation. Is this acceptable? As far as I know, let me just test it since I'm here. Right, it is automatic. I'm not sure why on your end it's not, because as I put in the information here, the values are coming up automatically. Nick, if you could reach out to me separate, I'll just, if you message me privately and I'll contact you after. All right, David asked, is health insurance classified as working capital?
I think we answered that one already. It is working capital, yes. And it is would be the amount that the employer pays.
Okay.
So it's a staff expense, a salary expense.
Antoinette asks for the numbers. Christy, can you post the 2 numbers that we've been communicating in the chat for everyone, please? Stephen, most of us are now not tax compliant because of Ministry of Finance, because Ministry of Finance has not paid the company portion of the best cash as yet. How do we proceed?
We'll see if we can get a waiver, but you'd have to come back to me if you're not tax compliant. We'll reach out to the Ministry of Finance. Let me just make sure I understand the issue. In other words, you are not tax compliant because you are requesting a waiver under the set cash program. Am I correct?
Stephen?
Stephen?
No, because they're supposed to pay back. They're supposed to pay the company portion of the best cash.
Do you have something indicating that, or is that something that indicates that, Stephen?
It's with JHTA. They are supposed to pay the company portion. I can send you the card from JHTA.
All right, what we can do, if you can get something from JHTA, but I will reach out to the Ministry of Tourism indicating that in that particular case, where the amount of the award under the set cash is to be used to make you compliant, will they consider waiving the requirement for you?
Lisa, this is Evelyn. Let me give some more clarification on that, if I can, on that same issue. All right, what it is that after the government paid us for the best cash, the taxes that are for the portion of that payroll best cash grant, they're supposed to pay that, and that was in a technical advisory note from them, but they have not yet paid those taxes into our tax portal. Therefore, for April, May, June, July, and August, whatever statutory taxes accrued for those best cash employees are showing as owed, and they're accumulating with penalties and interest.
Oh, no.
That's the problem. So if, for example, which is why the question of the September 30th TCC was so critical.
Right. I understand why.
Probably not be able to get a TCC because we're, delinquent, but we're not really delinquent of our own making.
All right, I'm going to reach out to the ministry on that one ASAP, because I don't think that would be reasonable to prejudice you for tax compliance in that case. So if you have a TCC now and clearly it has not expired, then you will be okay. But in the event where you are delinquent and therefore have not renewed your TCC because you're expecting this set off, then I would expect that you would indicate it. Evelyn, what I need to know is is there some information that an individual company would have that they could provide that?
No, there's just a technical advisory note. There's a technical advisory note which covers everybody as a process.
All right, go ahead and send that to me ASAP on a separate email. You have my email address. So go ahead and send that to me, and then we can just get clearance from the ministry. But for the purposes, if you are non-compliant for that reason, please indicate it on your application. I would ask that you just wait for a day or two so that I can see if I can get a clearance from the Ministry of Finance.
All right, I think Sophie had the same question. Ministry of Finance had extended TCC to September 30th. Will you accept this? The JHTA has requested an extension as many hotels have best cash reimbursements for statutory to be applied by the ministry.
I'm sorry, Janice, you're going to have to go over that one because I was just getting some emails here from Ministry of Finance. They are aware of the issue, Evelyn and Stephen. They are aware, and they seem to have having some challenges, I guess, in ensuring that you're not shown to be non-compliant. As you said, there the outstandings are showing. So I think because they know of the issue, if they can send us some information indicating which entities are open or have amounts to be set off, then that will allow us to process. Because I don't want it to be a bugbear, particularly if it is the government itself that has not provided you with that information. But I will get the specifics on how we will deal with it and come back to you on it. But they are aware, Minister of Finance is telling me that they are aware of it, and then we'll just work out a mechanism on how to deal with it. Do not let that prevent you from submitting the application.
All right, Sophie, Minister of Finance had extended TCC to September 30th. Will you accept this? The JHTA has requested an extension as many hotels have best cash reimbursements for statutory. Same question, right? All right, Andrew, explain to me 30% of the sum requested in item 10, in question 10. Is that 30% of age? Let me go to it. Is that 30% of age, which is the overall total, or 30% of E and F individually? So the question really is it 30% of the total grant requested, or is it 30% of the working capital?
It's 30% of the working capital. So in this particular case, C, raw materials is working capital, staff training is working capital, salaries are working capital, rent and utilities are working capital. So it really is not a factor of A to E. It really is saying that the most that you're going to itemize these three specific things if they're applicable, C, D, and E. However, 30% of the total, no more than 30% of the total must be in F. Understand what I'm saying?
So if you have a total of 10 million.
30% of each.
Okay.
It's 30% of each.
Okay. So it's 30% of the total.
Yes.
All right. Lindsay, can we submit a business plan as a document for the grant as a tour company?
Absolutely. Remember, we want to know as much of what you're trying to do. But remember, the grant is not, I want to manage expectations here. This is not to fulfill every single expansion plan of a business. It's certainly not enough money in this grant program to do so. Because I know many pre-COVID, lots of entities had planned for certain kinds of expansion. That's not what this is for. This is just primarily to get you ready so you can reopen, so that you can open. Because I think in the broader scheme of things, some of those plans will have to be revisited in the context of how long the pandemic is expected to last.
All right, Gloria asks, what happens if you're behind in payments with GCT because of COVID-19?
Ooh. That's a good one. Put it in your working capital cost and note it, and let's see if we can get it excluded. Let me say that again. Payment of GCT is usually a part of your working capital. So, but I don't want to prejudice you in the context that it is something due to government and it's something the government is giving you. So put it in your working capital calculations, and I can see if it can be excluded.
All right. Mr. Taylor, what if your business was not operating for a couple of years and in 2018 you started renovations for reopening, but due to COVID-19 and low income, it had to be put on pause? Am I still able to apply? My business is also registered.
In 2018 or 2019?
So what if your business was not operating for a couple of years and in 2018 you started renovations for reopening, but due to COVID and low income, it had to be put on pause? Am I still able to apply?
No, but it sounds like it was operational up to March of 2019. If it was operational up to March of 2019 and had to be was impacted because of COVID, then yes. If it was not open in 2018 at all, then that's going to be a little bit more difficult. Because it means you're not an ongoing kind of venture. You're closed and have been closed since 2018.
Right. Bowlers, car rental, good afternoon. What if we were purchasing a vehicle for the car rental purpose, made a deposit, can that invoice be submitted?
Ideally, they don't want to finance vehicles, but if you are a rental company, please, yes, go ahead and submit the application and I will see if it can be done. But believe me, the size of this grant is not going to be able to finance vehicles, numerous vehicles. So therefore, I don't want to raise expectations beyond what I think is going to be available.
All right. Question from Navin Chandaramani. Will registration with one... yes, we do. Will registration with one entity, namely Ministry of Tourism, TPDCO, or JTB, be favored over another entity?
The truth is that if you're registered as Ministry of Tourism, you require the TPDCO license to be COVID assessed. So they go hand in hand. If it's JTB versus Ministry of Tourism, then as far as I know, Evelyn, correct me here, those two go together.
Yeah, you should. Well, I guess it depends on the business. That I'm not aware of any Ministry of Tourism without it having gone through JTB.
Exactly.
All right.
So only the TPDCO assessment that you should have gotten done. TPDCO has also indicated that if you are in process, still apply.
All right. Tanil asked, hello, can funds be used to make redundancy payments?
Ooh. That's a tough one in the context of, and I'm not trying to be vague here, I'm just trying to be as inclusive as possible. Redundancy is a working capital expense, so I would think it would be up to 30% could be included.
All right. Antoinette, the applicant in number 1, is it the same as the beneficiary in your application form?
I would like to hope so. This means that, in other words, the applicant is a company that's applying, and I'm assuming that you're going to be paying yourself. I'm just trying to think of a case where you would be paying to a third party. Help me here.
Antoinette? I guess she's trying to get that clarification if it is the same. Antoinette?
What? Yes, because the same information is required in both locations of the application form. So I wondered, why did you actually have a separate area for beneficiary details?
Oh, go up to the top again, Janice.
I believe the beneficiary details is really asking or gearing towards the account details, where the funds should go, who the funds should go to. Yes.
Yeah, let's say that again. In Open 1, Antoinette, it's just general information about your business. And in number 12, go down to number 12, Janice, is who should we pay?
Right, I'm now seeing that. Yeah.
Okay, so that beneficiary detail says who did, I mean, the TRN may be in both places, Janice. We need to check if it's in both places. It is. But the TRN of the beneficiary, they must match.
Yes, and the TRN is in both places.
Right, and the bank and the branch must be noted.
Perfect.
Okay?
Perfect.
All right.
I think, Janice, just to say that the amount to be paid, this amount will technically be filled in.
Yeah.
Because the amount that, and the truth is that as a process, as we have designed it, is that once you have been awarded, you're going to have to accept the award. So once you accept the award, even then that amount will be crystallized. Go ahead, Janice.
All right, this one is a long one. From John Wright, in terms of the 30% for operational expenses, can we apply for a period of 1 year, that being April 1st, 2020 to March 2021, with April? You want to answer that first part?
I think I need to see the whole question.
Okay,
So
let me
can
repeat. In terms of the 30% for operational expenses, can we apply for a period of 1 year, that being April 1st, 2020 to March 2021, with April to September 2020 being actual and October to 2020 to March 2021 being projected expenses?
I think the goal is to, because yes, I think what you're asking me is it 30% of the expenses that you have already incurred, or 30% through what period? I'm believing it's going to be 30% of the amount you've already expended. Because the assumption is that you're going to need it for going forward. But let me take that one off because I want to look at the question. I was trying to follow it in the chat. Let me just, who was it who asked the question? Because I'm not
John Wright.
John,
if you want to come on and just expound, to have that conversation quickly. John, are you there? John Wright? John? All right, I'm not seem to be getting John, but let me continue. Do you want to respond further?
Yes, he can come ask us offline.
All right. Sophie, TCC question has not been answered as they have been extended beyond the expiry date by MOF to September 30th.
All right, let's go through it again. My understanding is that there are some entities that are not TCC compliant because they're waiting for a reimbursement or a credit from the Ministry of Finance in keeping with the Best Cash program. That is what I understand. And therefore, because this application requires you to be TCC compliant, you may show up as non-compliant, even though the government of Jamaica owes you based on the cash award, the said Best Cash award. I'm going to get clarification from the Ministry of Finance on how we can treat with it, even though we have confirmed that they are aware of it. So I'm saying if you are non-compliant because you are awaiting an award from the set or a set off based on the Best Cash program, go ahead and apply and indicate it on the application. Is that clear? Because I suspect it's a broad-based program. Who asked the question? I'm not seeing it in my time. Sophie, is that clear?
All right. Next question, no name. We are a tour operator. However, our operations is primarily ground transportation. Do we still need an assessment from TPDCO? We were not fully closed, only have employees on rotation.
Yes, you still need the assessment because remember, as far as I know, TPDCO is doing an assessment of your facilities in terms of COVID preparedness. So yes, you do.
All right, Sarah. Is there a guarantee that I will be granted the full amount as noted in my proposal? If not, how will you decide what items from the proposal I will be able to apply the grant to?
I think that's a great question. And if it was up to me, I would guarantee it. But the truth is, we're waiting on all, as I said before, we're doing a call for proposal mechanism. And in order to make sure as many entities, eligible entities get an award, where I can't guarantee that the maximum amount of maximum amount of what has been requested will be granted. That will be assessed when we do the awards after September 30th.
All right. Sarah Blackwood asked.
I'm sorry, wait, Janice.
Sure, go
and
ahead.
in terms, just to be transparent, the information that you give me is going to be used to assess the award. So there's no rocket science here, and we're not trying to be in any way ulterior in how we assess it. We're just going to assess it based on whether it is a worthy project, whether you meet the criteria, whether we're going to be a little bit prejudiced to whether you're a small and medium enterprise. And once it can be supported, it will be scored and then awarded.
All right. Sarah asked, Is the grant applicable for web development technology and increase in online presence? I scroll to question 10 because somewhere there it says other, not to include expenses related to redecoration, marketing and promotion, dividend payments, and maintenance. So increasing online presence would fall under marketing and promotion, and thereby the grant would not be applicable for that. Jodian asked, what if our signing officers are not able to e-sign?
But certainly, Janice, they could get it physically signed and then
upload it. Correct. So just download it, fill out information as best as you can online or virtually, and then download and re-upload and send to us along with the documentations that are requested.
We really do not want to get any physical applications. And it, of course, it will speed up the process if they've been received.
Damali asked, how do we fill in the year-to-date 2020 column if we will be submitting the management accounts?
Sorry, I said up to August. If you have management accounts up to August, then you would indicate up to August. So your total revenue would be, what has your revenue up to August been? That's why it's year-to-date.
All right. Nick, I'll send you the email address. What happens if you are not TCC because of COVID-19? Can we still apply?
So this is not a case where, is this who asked this question?
This question was asked by Gloria.
Gloria, is it that you are expecting a credit? Do you fall under the grouping that Evelyn mentioned?
Gloria, are you there? Gloria? Okay, I don't think we have Gloria here.
Okay, well, if somebody knows Gloria,
sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Hi, Gloria.
Here. Gloria's here.
Gloria,
hi.
Do you fall under the grouping that Evelyn mentioned, where you're expecting a set-off from Best Cash?
I believe, yes, we are. What happened is that because of the COVID, we are behind with our payment for GCT because all the payments has not come in. There are people who are still owing us and they're giving us excuses. So, you know, we're not able to be up to date with our GCT, and that's one of my main concerns.
If that is in the same grouping,
in order to get my PCC, yeah, yes.
If that falls into the same grouping, then the previous answer would apply.
Okay.
Go ahead and submit and indicate if you are to get a set off against the Best Cash program.
Lisa,
okay, thank you.
Evelyn?
Lisa, yeah, just so that I am very clear. The one I am talking about is specifically the taxes related to the Best Cash transfer. So
exactly, not GCT.
No, it's the one that I was talking about is the statutories the government is to pay as a result of us paying people through the Best Cash program. That's the statutories that they haven't paid, and that applies to everybody. Nobody has been paid. Those taxes for all entities on the Best Cash, small, medium, or large, has not yet been paid yet by the government.
All right, so Gloria, if you're referring to those expenses, if you're referring to those expenses, then you would go ahead and submit your application. As it relates to GCT, GCT is a working capital expense, so only 30% would be covered.
All right, Dion, there's still a little bit of questions surrounding the 30%, Mrs. Bell. In regards to section 10 of the application form, could you please give us an actual example? For example, if staff training total project cost is 50,000, would grant amount to be applied for be then 30% of that, which would be 15,000, and the difference which we need to show we have in our account would then be 35,000. So go ahead.
Let me see if I can break it down a little bit easier because I don't want it to be too confusing. You have different categories of expenditure. For most entities, it's working capital, and then it's what's called capital expenditure. So working capital would include things like raw materials, staff training, emoluments, anything that you require on an ongoing basis to keep your entity operational. That's working capital. We're saying we're only going to cover 30% of working capital, while the rest can be used for more capital expenditure. If you need a piece of equipment, if you need to expand a specific space, if you need more, if there's a potential project, you need to cover a certain area because you need to expand the space for dining. Those are capital expenditures. Those are the things that we want to finance because they're much more difficult to finance. So we're saying 30% of your overall expenditure we will cover only 30% of working capital, 30% of the award for working capital, while the balance can be used for other kinds of expenditure. Is that a little clearer?
No.
Or is that still as clear as mud?
Sorry, I'll come on and I'll just ask the question because it'll probably help. So I understand that there is a split between working capital and other. What I'm trying to understand on this section 10 is, if you see section H total,
yes.
In terms of my total project costs, is there a comparison then against what I'm applying for in my grant amount? So should I be saying my grant amount is...
No, let me make it easy for you. If your total is $10, the most you can put in item D, E, and F cannot be more than $3.
Fine. Okay, that's what I wanted to understand.
Sorry, C, D, E, and F, because those are all working capital.
Fine.
C, D, E, and F are all working capital. So the total of that amount cannot be more than $3 if $10 is the amount you're applying for.
Fine. Okay. Thank you very much. I hope that works.
Thank you.
We'll try with the numbers.
Right. All right. Tamale asks, signed in the presence of. Does this have to be done electronically as well? Again, if you're having issues with electronic signature, print the completed application form, sign it up, re-upload all the documents, and email back to us. Tanil asked a good question. If awarded the funds, will there be a timeline to complete or implement the projects?
Absolutely, and I think it's a year. But I'm going to check. I do remember see that. I'll come back to you, but I think it's a year. Certainly, we're not going to give you for 2 years. We want you to be up and running as quickly as possible. But I will confirm that one and get back to you because I'm not seeing it in front of me now.
All right, Dion, I'm in a different country to the signees and do not have e-signatures for them. If not, just sign on your side, email them the document to be signed, have them sign it, whether through the same portal or download it and re-upload it, send it back to you, or they can send everything else to us. So just any way you can get the signatures done would be grateful. Antoinette asks, if there is an issue with the application, will you contact the applicant for clarification or an opportunity to make corrections if needed?
If you do it before September 30th, we will try, but no guarantees, which is why we want you to fill it out completely. We do not want a case at September 30th where we're going to have to try and call people back and say, well, you didn't fill this in and therefore your application is pending. We're closing as at September 30th so we can start the award. Certainly if you send it in now, we can look at them and see if you've missed something and contact you. Remember, our objective is to get this grant into your hands. We just need to be able to assess it properly. So if you get the application in as soon as possible, then we probably on a single case will say, well, oh my gosh, you didn't fill in this, let's get this information in. But we don't want a situation where we're going back and forth, and therefore reserve the right that if you did not put that information in, and we don't have enough to assess, then you will not get it.
And please do not wait for the last minute to get this done. Do it as soon as possible so you can get the help as quickly as possible.
And the truth is that we expect a flood of applications, and we don't want them all coming in at the end. So if you are ready, submit your application, which is why we're having this Zoom session today, so we can answer as many questions as possible so that the applications can start coming in earlier rather than later.
Okay, I think everybody heard that one. All right, Gloria, would we be qualified to apply for a point of sale system?
Point of sale system, I'm trying to understand how it would be related to COVID preparedness. So if you can justify how it is related to COVID preparedness, then perhaps we will be able to see it. I know we are promoting the use of contactless systems. So if you can support why you need a point of sale system or some other system that is contactless, then that could be something we would look at.
Yeah, that was the idea, to have less contact. That's the reason why we want to upgrade our point of sale system, so we have less contact with the clients.
Right. I think there are some technologies where you would actually not even take the credit card from the patron, just scan it over. If you can prove it, then so certainly, because we actually believe that is something where we need to go.
All right, this one you like, Mrs. Bell. Are there special low interest loans being offered to tourism entities to cover, for example, the remaining 70% of working capital not being covered by the grant?
I am very, very, very pleased to tell you yes. In other words, remember, we're trying to make sure that you can get open. EXIM has a small and medium-sized tourism enterprise loan, which still has funding in it, I think $500 million, which is geared at providing supplemental funding for you to complete these projects. Unfortunately, it's not a grant, but it's a loan, but it is at 4.5%. Certainly, as I said earlier, you make your application, you can submit your application for the loan at the same time, such that we will be note that you are trying to get funding from Exim Bank.
All right. Rebecca, I think what Mr. Lynch was asking is, can we apply for working capital as actual expenses from April 2020 through to September 30th, and projected working capital from October 2020 to March 2021? I believe many of us have the question with salaries in particular. How far out can we ask for assistance? So
all right.
Basically asking to cover projected expenses as well.
Right. I'm just going to clarify that issue in the context of working capital. Clearly, if you're buying a piece of equipment then, and it's going to be used in the bought now but used for the next year, that's easy to justify. As it relates to working capital, as I said, I'm going to try and get confirmation on how far out you can go. Because right, as it relates to your expenses that you've already incurred, clearly 30% of the total is easy to establish. It's much harder to establish when it's projected working capital for the future. So that's why I'm going to just clarify that one point. We'll either get back to you directly or I'll put it in the frequently asked questions. Again, how far out can you go in terms of projected working capital expenditures to be included in the award?
All right. And final two questions. One from Christine Bernard, and one more came in. For invoices paid online, can we use the receipt to generate it, or should we submit the bank statement?
I really want the bank statement, because the bank statement really is proof that it actually was taken from your account. But as I said, I think someone had asked the question with Amazon before. Yes. I do not want the invoice alone. I either want both or the proof of the deduction from your bank account.
Mm-hmm. All right, Charlotte, what is the guideline to be considered small or medium?
All right, we're using the MICAF guideline. If you hold on for just a second, take the last one for me and then I will give you the guideline in a second.
And the last question, if a small tour operator of 2 vehicles with no physical office space, however, is registered with a TP, DECO, and JTD, how would an assessment be done with no physical office? Would there still be eligibility?
If a small tower operator 2 vehicles with no physical, however, is registered to, or what an assessment if no physical office. Once you're registered, you're registered. So if you meet that requirement, then I don't think you need to have a physical office space in order to operate. But if you can, once you're registered, we can look at eligibility, yes.
All right.
Well, I need to answer the small and medium. I will also put that in the chat because I know there is a specific requirement. Maybe Janice, just go through the application, how to submit the application one more time before I close off while I look for the question relating to size.
All right, so let me just put in some gibberish just to go through quickly. Okay, so again, for you to be able to submit this form, you must fill out the information requested in the red boxes. All right, so I'm trying to quickly go through. Date of incorporation, let me just put a regular date. TPD co-regulating sector, again, remember the request is down here. What type of business are you? Rental, car rental, guest houses, etc. So you put that information in. I'm only filling out the red parts of the application form so I can put it through. Description of the business, list the main areas of the company's COVID recovery plan, information there, summary of intended use, check, 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 information, information, date, signature. So my digital signature is this, sign. Once that's done, then the signature will be in there in just a second. That's the digital signature. Same for here, signature, sign. At each point of the signature, it will ask to save the file to ensure that the file doesn't change. Same signature, continue, sign.
Somebody needs to put on their mute.
A proper
Mr. Giano, Luca,
cleaning operation.
Christy, can you mute, please? All right, thank you. All right, so the signatures are in and the final signature, I'll just put that in. Sign, save, yes. Once you've completed all the areas that are red, then you will be able to press submit. This email will be sent using your default email application. So if your default email application is Outlook, then it will open Outlook. So I'll press continue. Once you've done that, as you can see, automatically the email address, which is info@eximbankja.com, is already there. All you'll need to do is attach the other documents that are requested, your copy of your TCC, financial statements, etc. Attach it to that and rename your form with the name of your company, and I'll put that in the website as well, the name of your company and grant application form, and you press send, and that is it. Again, if you have an issue, let me come out of this one. If you have an issue with this, the parts that are requesting the signatures, just fill out all the information, save it and print it, sign it, re-upload it, and send it along with your other documents. Were you able to find the information you were looking for, Mrs. Bell?
Yes, I was. Let me just do a share screen for them. Just allow me to share.
1 second. Christy? All right, Christy will give you host capabilities.
Okay.
Go ahead, you can try
Right,
now.
let me just show you where it is. I think this is it. All right, somebody had asked me the definition of micro and small and medium. The micro for small is sales of greater than 15 million up to 75 million. Medium is between 75 and 425 million. In terms of employees, between 6 and 20 for small, between 21 and 50 for medium. Okay, we'll put that, please put that in the FAQs also for me, Janice.
Sure. We have another question. And then we're gonna wrap up after this question. Dion said, thank you for the webinar. It has been extremely useful. Thank you, Dion. Please confirm that the proof of funds from the bank should be for 10% of the project cost, correct?
10%, but also at least 10%. If it is that you also have an amount to contribute to the overall project purposes, you should indicate that also. Remember I think it was question 11 or question 10, Janice, it says please indicate the ability to complete the project, because assuming that, let us say back again, that the project is going to cost you $10 million, whatever the project cost is, and you have 6 million to provide. We want to make sure that if we were to give you 4, that you actually have the 6 to complete the project. Because if this project is required for you to open, we would have not achieved the purpose by giving you 4 and you cannot complete the project. So that's why we want to see financial ability to complete the project that you're asking us to fund. Is that clear?
Right. Okay. This is from Ryan Nard and Shayla. We are a water sports company and have been closed since March. Would we still need to show any record of activities to be approved?
No. Well, if you have, I don't think you may not have any, but we do want in-house accounts. And if your in-house accounts from March, if it's been closed, it's been closed, fully closed. But if you've had expenses, we want to see the expenses, your assets and your P&L. What question was that, Janice?
In the application form?
Yes.
I believe it was question 8.
Right, so question is ask you for 18, your accounts for 18 and 19, and then year-to-date accounts through to August.
Yes.
So if you've been operational at all, then put those figures in there. We know they're not going to look pretty, but the fact is put them in.
All right, let me run through last questions, guys. Blue Waters, I should be able to save the file to be able to email it to my lawyer for her signature, but I'm not able to save, only submit. No, if you go in your files in your Adobe, file, tools, etc., you should press file and you will be able to save as. That is outside of the form. Email me for more information, info@eximbankja.com. Taniel is saying thank you for the session. Thank you too for being here, Taniel. Lindsay, can we add our vehicles insurance to the working capital and or public liability insurance also? This was also asked, but we can answer it again.
Your vehicles insurance, you personally, certainly the public liability insurance is working capital. But if your vehicle is is owned by the company, yes, it could be, but not if it's your personal vehicle. I'm just not clear.
All right. Lindsay will give you the opportunity to expand on that. Lindsay, are you there? She said company.
Oh, yes. If it's a company vehicle, absolutely.
All right. Last question.
Only to the extent of 30% of the total award.
Last question from Charlotte. If you make turnover under 425 million, but employ over 50 people, are you disqualified?
No. If you make less than 425, that's a primary indicator. If you employ more than 50 people, it's a secondary indicator. So go ahead and apply.
All right, that's it. Thank you everyone for being here, for asking all those fabulous questions. Again, we will be updating our FNQ and we will be posting it to our website. There's one there currently. I will update it. I will also be posting this video on the same page on the website for you to review and share with anybody else who may have questions or concerns. I will not ask if there are any more questions. I will not be taking any more questions at this time. Thanks again. MD, would you like to close?
As I said, guys, the objective is really to try and give you the assistance that you need. We are trying to make this program as simple, as efficient as possible, but being responsible about it at the same time. We are here to try and help you to get through this process. So outside of this session, there are contact numbers that you can call our office, or you can send us an email where we're going to try and be as clear as we can so that the application process can be smooth. Everybody's situation is a little bit different, and I've tried my best to try and answer the questions as best as I can. But if you do have questions that have not been answered here in this forum, I know as it relates, I'm going to put a definitive word from you from the Ministry of Finance on the tax issue, the statutory deduction issue. But beyond that, just go ahead and try and get your applications in as quickly as you can and as complete as you can. I'm really it's going to pain me to reject applications if they have not been completed. But I'm hoping that we can do this efficiently and do these awards early October.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a fabulous day.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Mrs. Bell.
Hi.
I think that went well.
My team, is this my team left?
We're still here. We're just waiting for everyone to exit.
Yes, just for the team to
is online, Mrs. Bell.
Hello, Jam West. Hello, Jam West.
Hi, Jam West is here.
Thank you for joining us. I hope it was informative.
It was definitely informative, and clarified a few things. And we sat here and we went through, and yeah, we're going to be getting in on making certain that we access the opportunities that are there for us.
That's the objective.
Excuse me if I may. I noticed that Mr. Gordon called a while ago, and I asked him if you were online, and he said yes. So he is going to be listening to the recording that we're going to be posting on our site.
Most definitely, Miss Young. I was trying to call you earlier during it, Debbie.
I missed your call, but I picked up his and gave it to Mr. Thomas, who spoke with him at length.
Good.
Okay, have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you all, and continue being safe and practicing all the necessary procedures and protocols with yourselves and your families.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I look forward to Jamra's opening in October as indicated by Mr. Gordon.
We're doing it. We're doing it. I've already prepared the policies, and we're doing the necessary we call it there procedures, the training. We're meeting with some of the staffs. We've scheduled them at different points, so we're trying to get everything in place so that we can able to get into the position of creating fun memories with persons despite the new norm.
Okay. All right. Thank you for attending again.
Thank you for passing on the information. Cheers, guys.
Okay.
Mrs. Bell, can I speak to you off air? Just one short question.
Oh, no, I just want my team to stay on for a little bit. Let me just say goodbye to everyone else, and then we can just have a quick debrief.
Mrs. Bell, can you hear me? Yes, I have one short question. Is that okay?
Sure, go ahead.
One short one. Sure. Right. Your example of the working capital with the 10 and the 3?
Yes.
Right. So in my case, I'm only applying for working capital because we really don't have any capital projects. We have completed all of those. So on my sheet at number 10, so if my working capital is 3, so my total then will be 3 because that's all I'm applying for. Or you will need to see what my total working capital of 10. So I'm going to put 10 in C, D, E, and F. And then in the middle column, grant amount applied for, I would just put the $3, which would be the 30%.
Right, but on the assumption that you actually are spending the other 7.
I have spent the other 7.
Okay. All right, then that's right.
Okay.
So 30% of your total working capital is eligible.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, thank you very much. It was well done to you.
You're welcome. Thank you again, everybody.